Now, before we take another look at handling user input, and before we dive into this form feature I mentioned before, let's actually start this course section with a challenge for you, with a chance for you to practice some of the things you learned up to this point. I want you to build this app here, this shopping list app, which at the moment doesn't yet allow users to add new items to the list, because that is what we'll work on together thereafter, but which at least shows some dummy grocery items in a list that looks like this. And my challenge for you is to build this user interface. Build such a list, add some widgets as needed, try to come as close to this UI as possible, also build and use any data models you might need. And once you're done with that, definitely take a look at my solution, which you'll see in the next lecture, before we then thereafter dive into handling user input. Now, one very important note. Attached to this lecture, you find a main.dart file, which you should use instead of your main.dart file, where I do set up a basic Flutter app with a very basic theme, which you of course could also adjust to your personal preferences, but this is the theme we will use in this course here, or in this section. And attached you also find a data folder, which you should unzip and move into your lib folder. And in there you'll find a categories.dart file with the available categories that we'll use in this app here for our grocery items. And you'll find a dummy items.dart file in this data folder, where you find some dummy grocery items, which you can use for a start to display them on the screen. Now, if you take a look at those files, you also see that I'm importing some models in those files, a category.dart file and a grocery item.dart file, for example. And you might also see, if you take a closer look, that I seem to be using an enum here as a key for my different categories. So you might also want to add an enum that supports these values, and you also definitely want to set up a category and a grocery item model in a to be added models folder in files named, as you can see them here in the imports, and create those models so that you can set up these two files here such that they use the models without errors. Now, attached to the next lecture, you'll find my finished model files, and you could also use those if you struggle with setting up those models, but definitely take it as a practice opportunity and try adding those models on your own. Either way, definitely try building this UI, and in the next lecture, we'll build the models and the UI together.